Dear students, welcome again. In this series of lectures on international political economy, we have a very interesting topic to cover today. The question of why MNCs are created. And I know all of you have a political reason in mind that they work as a political agent, sort of, and they try and influence politics in a foreign country. And we'll talk about it in the next lecture, but in today's class, we'll focus on the economic reasons. But before that, let me hide that. Control. Now, so imagine you run a business in USA and you want to expand your business. You know that the product you are selling in USA, say time machine. Okay, so you're selling time machine in USA, and you know that it has its demand in, let's say, China. So now you call a meeting and you share the news with the managerial team, and a senior manager who is very excited, maybe he wants to move to China, he tells you that you should open a subsidiary farm there. Now, that requires a lot of capital to invest, and you must understand the commercial laws in China and some, you need to have some familiarity with their culture, with their language, their political system, and similar stuff. So no, now you're confused. You can't decide whether you should or should not open a new subsidiary in China. And then a junior colleague who wants to have a raise, he raised hand and he suggests that you can import your product in China instead of opening a new business there. There is no need to invest so much. Um, Simply connect with some importer in UAE and just export your products there. So the option of trade, and we've discussed trade a lot in our offline classes. But then the senior manager, and mind you, he is an experienced person. He informs you that things are not that simple. And although, yes, China claims to be a capitalist economy, their market isn't that open. So the market imperfections will not allow you to go for trade because there are so many tariffs and non-tariffs, trade tariffs barriers that after after trade, the price of your product will be so high when it will reach Chinese market that no sane person would buy it. And for this reason, since importers would calculate, make their own calculation, they would not be willing to import your product. Because even if that product isn't available, that no one in China is selling a time machine, even then the cost is, it goes way beyond the amount a normal person can pay for it. And so you should open a subsidiary office there. And so, the first reason I have for you why MNCs are created there, because trade is very costly. And MNCs, in terms of cost, are much cheaper than trade most of the time when MNCs are created. The reason usually is the cost of trade. Now, the junior manager is in no way planning to give up. So he wants to challenge the senior manager because he wants to appear intelligent. So he suggests that instead of finding an importer in China, let's find a company there, a company that sells similar products, and you can then give that company a license to sell your product in China. And since they know the local laws and they're aware of the culture and politics and they're local sailors, so they don't need to pay tariffs. So All problem solved. And there is no need to open a new franchise there. And you're convinced, and you're about to clap. But then that senior manager, he jumps up and he tells you about a theory called Werner's product cycle. And I've included a video on Werner's product cycle in the description of this video to save time. Here I'm just telling you what the manager told you. So the manager reminds you that when you innovated that product, I mean, the time machine, only a few elites in USA were willing to buy it because the cost was high. Because you put so much money in the research and development, you had to establish a new plant for the time machine. So all that cost added up, and it was a luxury product, just like touch mobiles or laptops in the past. So only the elite, the rich people could buy that. No one in USA was making time machines because only you knew the secret technology. So there was no competition. However, now the product has entered the maturity phase. And while the sales has increased, more and more people want to buy this product in USA. The cost has also declined. Now, this there is no added cost of research and development. New plant, all the cost of new plant has been covered now. So the cost is low, the sales is high. But now there are few other companies in the USA who have started selling time machines too, and the competition is rising. And some of your competitors are selling time machine at much lesser cost. And while one competitor in particular, he's selling product at much lower cost. The time machine they are producing is not qualitatively that good, but yet it is selling really high, and it is the exactly right time for any company to open a subsidiary office, to expand their business, and the manager says that uh, once you open a subsidiary office in China, there you'll have no competitor there. And before one of your competitor reach there, you'll already establish your product there. However, if your product enter the standardization phase, and by standardization phase, he meant that the product becomes a normal product. Everyone owns it. In that case, there was no need for you to open a subsidiary office in China. You'll miss that opportunity because your competitors would have reached China by then, and the sales would have been declined, cost will be declined too, and there will be no reason for you to sell that product anymore. So, interesting, isn't it? So now you're getting a bit convinced. So you asked him to come up with a little more reasons to justify opening a new business because it's a costly investment. It requires a lot of investment. And your manager, your senior manager, who is now happy that he has some chance of finally living in China, he gives you a long list of benefits. So, first, he tells you that by now only your firm can produce time machine of this quality, because only your firm knows the technology secret, the secret technology. And if you give license to someone in China to produce time machine, as the junior manager had suggested, you'll have to tell them the secret technology, and that's risky. And you own the patent of time machine because you were the first one to start that. You should not allow anyone else to produce the product on your behalf. Third important factor, the firm specific benefit of having an MNC instead of giving license to someone, is that the managerial system you have in USA, where you have this habit of discussing your decisions with the managers, and your junior manager can speak against your senior manager, this open environment you won't be able to establish in China unless you have a subsidiary, you have a direct control there. And without this environment, that local company cannot come up with innovative ideas to change the product according to the local needs, and your business in China will soon end up, because the very thing that makes your business grow is the innovation. You're someone who have come up with, and who have innovated time machines. So it's better to have a new office in China to invest a bit, instead of like letting a local producer sell time machines there, because they lack that innovation. Also, while it's required, it requires a lot of capital to invest. You own a big business in USA. You have that capital, so why not use that capital effectively, instead of saving it now and later losing your chance to expand your business in China. So time to take the risk, but it's worth it. The manager now tells you some location specific advantages as well. So he tells you why China specifically. Because first, in China, the price of steel, which is an important resource for your time machine, it is much lower in China because it's the largest producer of steel in the world. And once you have a subsidiary office there, you can purchase steel on local rates, and you can create all parts of your time machine which are made from a steel there, and the rest in USA. The cost will be low. Plus, the labor cost in China is much lower than the USA. In the USA, so you'll be able to produce a good quality time machine in a much lower price. That means you can now sell the time machine at much lower cost in the US too, and price in the US too, and you can get a competitive advantage over your competitors. You were talking about a little um, earlier, who are targeting the low cost market, and they have low quality products. So now you can compete with them as well. And since China is going to create the world biggest trade bloc in future, you'll be able to sell your products to ASEAN country, to South Asia, and to many other countries, by having a subsidiary office in China. You cannot do that from USA. Finally, the internalization, and by which the manager meant that you, being the owner of a time machine company in USA, you have a reliable brand name, and you have established marketing tactics, because if you're aware of a specific marketing tactic of you know Coke, for instance. Coke products use, they have a special, when you see their ad, that it's a Pepsi ad, it's a Coke ad. So similarly, your time machine you have a very specific strategy, marketing strategy you apply in all your products. And you wanted to keep it safe. You wanted to take no risk about making your brand name or your marketing technique, adding some blot to it. So uh, instead of letting a local producer do all things for you, you want to keep your brand name safe and reliable. And for that, you need to have your own office where you can, directly command. Finally, the junior, who had now realized that, experience matters. He now he cannot argue against the senior manager anymore, but now he needs to say something. He wants to say something, and he reminds you that your competitor in the USA, the one we were discussing, who was producing low quality products, that junior manager reminds you that. that competitor has a monopoly in Japanese market, because there no one is selling time machine except that competitor. So he suggests that once you have your subsidiary office in China, the next host country for your MNC should be Japan. So now your junior manager is convinced too, and maybe he wants to live in Japan. So this is a simple story, and I've tried and tell you some reasons why MNCs are created, and there are some important economic advantages, and there is some economic rationale for having your business expand in multiple countries. So I hope it was all clear. See you tomorrow with another lecture. Thanks for now.